I was just watching Futurama. What a wonderful show. The funniest of all the shows.
Were you laughing out loud?
The smartest. Yeah. I laugh out loud quite often. I'm sorry that Peter Griffin saying, I got a fart, Lois. And then she says, oh, you always fart. And then there's some cutscene to him.
You always fart, Peter.
And then there's some cutscene to him in bed and he farts and the blanket blows up to the ceiling. Sorry, doesn't really do it for me.
Wow, you're so much better than everyone else.
I am. That's low brow, lame ass, dumb brain comedy.
Futurama always, I don't know how many times I laughed out loud at Futurama. It was mostly like, that's funny. Like I recognized like this is funny and smart. Like it's a smart funny, but I wasn't like laughing outward.
What gets you to laugh outwardly? A dog that talks?
Silliness, I guess. Like Anchorman when he was in the telephone booth and he was crying like, hey, Cal Baxter! And there was just something about how he was, it wasn't just that he was crying, it's that he like kept going with it. You know, I don't know why, it just caught me off guard.
You also like when Jim Carrey comes out of the rhino's butt?
Oh my God, I loved that part. That part was hilarious. Mm-hmm. See, I like absurdity.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what happened?
What do you mean?
Where'd you go?
It's still here. Your mic sounds weird.
Oh, it does.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Is it something I can do?
I don't know. I was trying.
Gain?
Trying to see if there was something I could do, but it just all sounds so weird.
Okay. Maybe it sounds better.
I don't know. We'll just have to go
right.
with it. We don't have a lot of time.
Yeah.
Nothing like doing the show on a tight deadline, a tight turnaround.
That's all right. We can do it.
I have therapy.
You ready?
I have therapy in 1 hour and 1 minute.
No problem. We'll get it done. We'll do like a 50-minute show.
Yeah, I'll just use Futurama as my inspiration, trying to live up to the standard that show sets. One of the best. The best. Probably the best. Oh, sorry, American. Oh, there's an alien. There's an alien who's the equivalent of one of the other characters on the other shows. And
nasty.
There's that character.
Nasty.
Peter's
so
just
nasty this morning.
Peter's a slob.
All right, ready? 3.
Oh, you're doing the countdown.
Yeah, 3.
I do the countdown. 3, 2.
3, 2, 1.
Nope. 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to One Topic, where we stick to one topic. My name is Autumn Fisher.
My name is Greg Russ. I'm not as excited to be myself as Autumn is to be herself.
Wow.
The way you put the emphasis and the passion into your name.
My name is Greg Russ.
Like you're on a roller coaster.
Say my name like you would say your own.
I'm Autumn Fisher. It's fine. You just say your name.
Oh, that was decent. Yeah, it was good. That was said with conviction and confidence.
You just say it. I'm here. I am what I am.
I'm Greg Russ.
So this week's episode. Yeah, at some point, and sometimes there is that.
Greg Russ.
There is that response to myself. Other people feel it, and I feel it myself. I get it. I understand it. It's like, ugh, I'm still here.
And I'm Gregory Russ.
I'm still standing.
Better than I ever did. Coffee is kicking in. Feeling like a little kid.
From the Bodega Mart. I go get this coffee, by the way.
Uh-huh.
The machine's empty. They at this place, you don't serve yourself. They keep it behind the counter.
Oh,
and
bro, why?
The guy says, we're brewing more. I say, okay, it's fine. It's a big machine. But they wait until it's done. They don't seem to realize that there's still coffee in there that you can pour out of the spout, the spigot, while the rest of the coffee is brewing. It's not a pot that lifts off. It's a tank with a little valve on it. And they always make you wait. We're brewing it. Like, hey, that's a big thing. That thing probably holds 100 cups or more. It's
going to take like 20 minutes for that to fill up completely.
The coffee's there. Just start filling my cup now, and it'll continue to brew, and nothing will change. But they just don't understand.
You got to be a New Yorker and be like, oh, what's the holdup? Just give me what's in the pot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess. I didn't really want
Be
to
a
do
New
that.
Yorker.
But the reason I think Elton John was in my head because they play all the hits at the bodega.
I think it was in your head because I was singing it because my kids just watched the movie Sing.
Oh,
and
maybe.
they were waiting all day for that part.
Then I have no clue where it comes from. What was the song I was singing that when I first joined that I'm not going to include in the recording because I said something very crude? Living La Vida.
Living La Vida Loca.
Okay, that's where that one came from. And then the other one came from you, and I signed it to the bodega, for which I apologize. Anyway, what the hell is this week's topic? I know that you used a word generator. You went online because you were having a hard time coming up with a topic, which is kind of where we are now. And I'm fine doing this. I think it's a nice added element. You used a word generator.
Yeah. It was also hard for me because I had the kids for an extra day. So I was still like in that mindset of figuring out what they need and what I need to pack for them. And are they dressed? I need to brush out, like all these little things. So they just left. And so I was having to like still maintain all of that while trying to come up with a topic and then put the effort into it, that we talked about and not be so flippant about just any old topic. So yeah, we use the word generator. The first one that came for me was fast, which was nothing. And then yours was good. Yours was a good one.
Well, we could have done a show on fast and loose. The way you're living your life. I don't mean that. Don't.
I'm not.
Read too much into that and sink into the pit of despair.
No, I'm not, because that's not accurate at all. It only hurts when something is like maybe hits a little true.
Then hospital came up. We could have talked about hospitals. That would have been a
good one.
That would have been a real exciting show. I just watched for the first time $1 Million Baby.
Oh, I've never seen that either. The most I know about it is from the skit that Holly and Michael do on The Office.
What's the skit?
They sort of do Dunder Mifflin Air or something, and they sort of do a play on that movie. Slum Dunder Mifflin Air. That's what it was.
So they combine.
How did you know these things about? How did you know this trivia?
Well, what
about
do they?
This company. It's
what
like
do they reveal?
I was a tour guide and whatever.
What do they reveal of the movie in the skit? I'm trying to gauge your knowledge.
That maybe the country, like India or whatever.
No, that's Slumdog. That's Slumdog Millionaire, not $1 Million Baby.
Oh.
See, when you said that, I thought there was like, oh, they're doing the skit, but they're combining movies and confusing them on purpose. But it was you confusing the movies.
Wow. Oh, my God. Just like how you thought that you heard I'm Still Standing by Elton John in the Bodega. We all make mistakes. All right. $1 Million Baby. The boxing one.
It also makes sense that I would hear that song in the Bodega because they play CBS FM, all the hits.
Okay. Well, it also makes sense for me that I would confuse those two because they're so similar.
They're nothing alike. Absolutely nothing alike.
I know.
$1 Million Baby won the Oscar, and I think, what is her name? Hilary Duff won the Oscar, and Clint Eastwood won a directing Oscar, if I recall correctly. But the movie's not what I expected it to be. I'd never seen it. I know I'm very late to the game. When did that come out? 2005, I think. And it's a boxing movie for half the movie until she, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it, breaks her neck and is a quadriplegic. And it happens in a hospital for the second half of the movie. It takes place in a hospital.
Okay.
So we could have.
Did you know that part of it?
No.
Did you kind of know what? Oh, because I know the plot. Like I know the spoiler.
What, that she bites her tongue off?
Oh no, I didn't know that part.
No, she tries to commit.
She did?
She tries to commit suicide the only way she can, by biting her tongue.
Damn, I thought it was more like mostly a boxing movie, and then at the end, like the thing happens, not like through half the movie.
Well, maybe it's not quite half the movie, but I also wouldn't really call it a boxing movie. It's using boxing as the vehicle to move the plot, which is a very human movie. But the characters, it's so strange when we get into movie reviews of things that came out almost 20 years ago.
I'm the same way though. Like there are some movies that are big and I kind of have like anxiety not anxiety, but I'm just like I don't want to watch it. I need to wait like 10 plus years before I watch it. And then I'll be like, oh yeah, that was really good.
Well, I'm telling you all about this one. The act, people got such acclaim, and maybe because people thought it was going to be Lady Rocky, and it caught people off guard. And like,
right,
oh
to be
wow,
like something emotional.
yeah. But I feel as though all the characters were very one-dimensional and overacted. It's like, okay, this
Really?
person is that, this person is that, this person is that, and it didn't hit, no pun intended, as hard as it could have, because it gets really complex at the end. Even the complex ending where she asks Clint
Yeah. Spoiler.
to kill her because she can't do it herself, and he's the only person in her life, and she's kind of the only person in his life, and he has to battle with that decision. And there's a little bit of a battle that goes on, but for the most part, it's like that should have, maybe there wasn't time. I don't know the reasons they didn't do it, but at some point, the boxer lady's family, who are not the greatest people, come in and they're trying to get her to sign her money over that she made. And when they show up, it's like the sister's boyfriend who was in jail previously is there, and the way he interacts, it's like, okay, we get it. You're not a good guy. It's just, I feel as though there would be a little more nuance to these things, but people, they ate it up. They ate it up. But that's not
because you're talking about general audiences, right? Like it's more of a risk. It's more of a gamble to think that the general audience is going to understand subtlety or appreciate subtlety.
I feel as though they can.
No, they can, but the there are factions of the general audience that will respond and appreciate it, and then the rest are going to be like, "Oh man, where's more? I wish there's more fighting. Like, I wish there was more boxing in this movie."
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Maybe that's why it reached wider audiences. But as far as winning those awards go, the Oscar, quite often it's movies people don't see and have no interest in seeing.
I just watched a review. I know, again, this is like a billion years late, but I watched a review of Her, which I loved. Her. Oh my God, I loved Her.
Yeah.
With Joaquin Phoenix and so, but the person going into the movie, they didn't really know anything about it, and they were saying that they wondered if there were disappointed people seeing it, thinking it was going to be like a typical sort of like tropey plot where the computer, like the AI, starts to get jealous, and then the AI starts like locking all the doors, and saying like, "Where are you going? Who's Stephanie?" Like reading his emails and stuff. And then there would be a thing where like, maybe the AI would program like an assassin to come kill another girl or whatever. You know what I mean? There's just like some really on the nose ways that it could have gone, and it did not do that. And they were saying like, you shouldn't underestimate. I can't remember, underestimate or overestimate, but like you shouldn't expect too much of a general audience because they might not understand subtlety.
Which I don't know if is fair. I guess it is. Whatever.
I think it's accurate.
I'm a person who subscribes, even though I think most people are idiots. I subscribe to the idea that you should trust the audience and that they can get it. But maybe that's why when I did things on the radio when I was on full time in Atlanta, it's like, nah, don't do that. And maybe
that's the thing. You trust people who are interested in you. You know what I mean? Like you trust your audience.
Well, I guess
as a rule, generally, people don't understand things.
I believe that if you're allowed to do something, you'll find an audience. Maybe it won't be as big of an audience as these money-grubbing, selfish, pocket-lining scumbags want it to be. I had to pause in between my adjectives to pick some. But anyway, that's not the topic either. So we're not
this is not the topic at all.
We're not talking about hospitals. I like the way that we're really pushing the limits on the structure of the show. And while we are talking about how we got to today's topic, which allows us to talk about these other things, it feels a little bit like cheating.
You think so?
Maybe, but who cares?
We're lying.
The show has to evolve. We've done many of these. We're almost up to 150. And I'm fine if it evolves. I'm fine if we do start treating it kind of like last week's show where we didn't intend to talk about trends. It just kind of happened organically because we had a different topic that kicked it all off. I'm fine if the show starts to evolve into that where we use a word generator. Now it's like an improv show where people throw out this stupid idea, but we can take that and we can run with it. But the word argument came up for me. We decided not to talk about that. Motivation is what we landed on. The word generator gave you the word motivation.
No, actually it didn't.
What?
Yeah, I was going to come up with what was the one before that?
Hospital. I don't know. Here's what you told me. Fast
argument.
Argument was mine.
Yeah, I liked argument. And so I was going to go with argument. But then I was feeling some kind of weird way this morning, and I'm working out, and I joined a gym.
Okay, well, hold on. Way to leave me in the dark then. And set this whole thing up with the word generator when the word didn't even come from a fucking word generator.
Yeah, but all of the other things did.
Sure, but ultimately, that was a build-up to say, and here's how we got the top. Unbelievable. You just let me hang myself.
No, there's no way that's you hanging yourself.
So you're motivated to do something. You're feeling motivated. What is the motivation you're feeling? I know that you joined a gym.
Yeah.
But I feel as though the motivation wasn't to join a gym to work out. There's some bigger thing and you're looking for outlets for the motivation.
Well, I mean, I am choosing health. You know what I mean? Like, I'm in this weird place where there was something happening where, like, I'd lost all that weight with that diet, but that diet was, a weird diet and it wasn't like a lifestyle. So once I stopped the diet, I gained everything back. And then, I still was like creeping up the scale, and I wasn't doing any of my old tricks, when I weighed less. And when I weighed less, I would do like silly things like binge eat something, or go into like those fugue states of eating. There's like disassociative, like chips and dip, that you do. And I wasn't doing that. And I was, not stopping myself from anything, but I was also just I was being more conscious of, like, I was intuitive eating. Do you know what I mean? I wasn't going crazy. I wasn't like making things specifically so I could eat them that were bad for me, quote unquote, like not nutritious or whatever, just like treat. I was doing normal eating, I felt, and I was still just like creeping up the scale. And like my biggest pants were not fitting me. I was like, what the fuck? So I did a couple things. I took myself off my birth control to see if that would help. And I don't know if it has, but now I'm way more motivated to be more physical with my body and to eat more specifically. I'm like on a scale of not giving a shit about what you eat and extreme dieting. I'm like, if I was in the middle before, I'm like 2 clicks toward extreme dieting. You know what I mean? Like 2 clicks just in that direction, because I'm counting my calories. I'm not being super strict with it, but I am just like paying attention, like, oh, you know what? If I don't use butter to cook my eggs, that takes away like 100 calories. You know what I mean?
Are you
like,
blotting your pizza? Are you even eating pizza?
Yeah, I'm eating pizza.
Are you blotting it?
I've had a pizza.
Are you sucking up that grease? You don't use paper towels.
No, I have paper towels.
I
but
care
I don't use
about the environment, which is not, I say that as if it's an awful thing, but it just feels as though that's a weird stand that you've taken. That's the thing that I do.
I don't recycle.
And that's the point. You don't do many other things. I don't use paper towels. Paper towels are the least. I understand that they're wasteful, and if you're using a rag or something, but then you have to wash that.
Yeah. But I'm washing it with my clothes. Yeah, like I'm washing it with my towels, so it's not really like adding more.
That's fair. So the water at that point is already being used. The way you do your dishes is more wasteful than using the dishwasher. You know, dishwasher uses about 4 gallons of water, and it recycles that water. And 2 gallons of water come out of your sink any given minute. The average sink faucet in the kitchen is 2 gallons a minute. You're looking this up because you don't believe it, but it's true.
No, I just want to get it right.
Unless you do
2.2 gallons per minute.
Unless you do the gross thing where you fill the sink with the water and then you wash your dishes in that. But that's like washing your dishes in bath water. But
that's when you need those two sides of the sink.
Sure. The dishwasher is not.
I don't have that.
The fact that you don't use a dishwasher out of this idea that it's wasteful. But
I've been using my dishwasher, and I also wasn't using my dishwasher because I only had a couple dishes. You know what I mean? Like I have 4 big plates and 4 salad plates, and that's it. So I need the dishes.
But paper towels is where you make the stand, which again, it is wasteful, but paper is biodegradable, so it's not like using plastic. I shouldn't dismiss it completely because you're cutting back on waste. But anyway, you can't blot your pizza is the point. So you're eating.
Well, I'm not making pizza like that. Okay. So another thing I've been motivated to do. Someone recently made fun of me. It was just a tiny little comment, but it was we're talking about garlic and how I don't chop up my garlic. I just buy that gigantic container of garlic. Like, you know, those little ones that you get. I was splurged and went for the really big one that I thought I'll be using this for another year, and I'm already almost through it because I use so much garlic. And I was mentioning this to someone, and they were like, "Why don't you just buy fresh garlic and you know use one of those garlic presses?" And I was like, "Well, why would I do that? I have it." He was making fun of me, saying that like because I don't have any time, like because I'm so busy to not be able to chop garlic. It was just like a silly tease thing, but it made me think. I do have a lot of time. I could definitely press some garlic. And what that motivated me to do was not necessarily press a garlic, but it did motivate me
to go to Crunch.
No, to start
Sports
making
Life.
Shut up. Start making things from scratch. Like making as many things as I can from scratch. So there are these tomatoes that are growing in different sections of my apartment complex that like the maintenance guys plant and like let build up really big, and there's like a cleaning lady that comes around and she collects them. And I saw her one morning and we were talking and she gave me a bunch of the tomatoes she had picked, and then the other day there were just some on my door. I was really excited. Anyway, I used a bunch of those tomatoes to make a tomato sauce, you know, and I froze it. I got one of those rotisserie chickens and I made a stock with its carcass, and I don't know, I've just been motivated to use my time to do something that like nourishes me mentally and physically.
I also know that you like baking, so I can see I can get behind creating things from scratch. But it was all born out of you being shamed in an offhand comment. So if we're talking about motivation overall in a bigger picture, I think this is not clear cut. I know that it is a gray area because again, you do like doing these things. But chopping garlic, for example, it's not a matter of time. It's just a pain in the fucking ass. If it's already in a jar. Okay.
Use a press.
I'll scoop it. I know you got to peel it. I never liked peeling it.
That's no big deal. You just smash it with a knife.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. You're right. It's not about what is it called when you're like practicality or something. It's not that because it's no big deal to have a big thing of garlic in your fridge. It's not the thing. But it is interesting that I've cut some corner that I might not need to cut. And maybe I would get something like from having fresh garlic. And maybe there's stuff inside the, gigantic jar of garlic that's like a preservative that I don't need in my life. And if I have the time and the energy and the knowledge to like press a garlic, like I should do it. So why not? So I'm doing it.
Should you do it? I'm just playing devil's advocate. About that. I feel as though you should do the things you want to do. And this thing from scratch does, again, if I knew you and you hated cooking and you didn't like baking and doing this, that I would say, what the hell are you doing? This is asinine. This is this is born of some person making a comment. But knowing that you could get joy out of these things, I don't want to completely dismiss it. But
yeah, because I do get joy out of it.
But I think the bigger picture that I'm looking at, and you can tell me I'm wrong, is if you're going to the gym now, you want to lose weight, you're motivated to do that. But is there a grasping going on? Because you're feeling, I think you personally, with the work that you've been putting in to figure out who you are as a person, that opens some doors and you feel motivated to better understand who you are and act on who you are. And maybe I'm just projecting too, but within that, sometimes it's not a clear-cut path. I don't know where to go at this point, so you start doing all these different things, which is okay because you got to find something that you really want to do. I just don't. When we're talking about motivation, there are different motivators, and one is I just should be doing this. Is not really the best, and it doesn't necessarily mean you're doing that.
Yeah, I don't think that's where I'm coming from personally. I think, I mean, everything. I always say this, that like, there's a little piece of truth in everything, right? So if we're talking about if we're making a pie chart of reasons why I'm doing this, you know, a portion of it is a little bit of that like shame, or not really shame. I wouldn't call it shame, but just like, oh, maybe I could be doing this. You know, the rest of it does feel like I have the time to try and figure out if this is a thing that might just be me. Because I don't think before I had a very clear idea of who I was. Like, if someone came to me a couple years ago and said, "What do you do for fun?"
My life is fun. My whole life, I would say my life is fun. Your whole life was set up for fun.
Well, it would more be like, I don't know, I just watch some reality show. I listen to podcasts. I like to, and then, you know, seasonally I do puzzles and I crochet, you know, but now because I do have this time to myself, and what we talked about before, where like I get bored and I get a little like depressed. I think that putting my energy into these things is helping me, I don't know, have more purpose when I don't have the kids.
Is it a distraction?
I don't know if it's a distraction.
Notorious. I feel like you're notorious for not wanting to sit with uncomfortable feelings. So if you're sitting there, overall, outside of you, people, and this isn't having anything to do with your specific situation, but people are fed this line throughout their lives that if you're not being productive, if you're not doing something, that it's bad. That's a terrible thing. What a negative thing. And I don't buy into that. And I feel as though I've really, and I guess I hit on this a bit when I was doing the show alone a couple weeks ago when you weren't on.
Yeah, when you were talking about your dad.
Yeah. There's this idea that if you're not constantly productive, there's something wrong, or you're lazy. And I think I did buy into that. I never actually did anything about it, because then the rebellious side came out where I said, fuck you, I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to do this because I should be doing it. But I never felt good about that choice. I felt bad. And I've come to realize for me that if there's a lack of motivation, that in itself isn't a bad thing. It's about finding the things that I really want to be doing and getting the motivation to do that, which can be very difficult. You know, doing this podcast, I'm very good once I start doing something and it gets to be part of my routine, then I'll keep it up. And I feel as though the motivation is there. Even though doing this podcast, for example, is hard sometimes because, you know, we never miss a week. We want to keep that streak going. Sometimes, you know, moods are in play, or we don't know exactly what to talk about, and it can be a challenge.
Or we're breaking up.
Yes, but I never felt as though it was a chore. Like, it never got to the point. If I felt as though I was doing this and I had to do it, it would lose meaning, and then I would lose the motivation to do it. So this is something that I enjoy. So I know that doing the podcast and understanding that it's not going to be smooth sailing all the time is something that I like. And that can be applied to anything in life. It's just hard to find the things, and you have to really let go and understand who you are and just lean into whatever that brings up, and then start doing the things that you want to do. I feel as though the motivation can be stalled, stymied, whatever word you want to use, out of fear, because if it's something you really enjoy and it doesn't go so well because, again, things aren't always smooth sailing, then, you know, that fear can keep you from doing things. That's certainly something that I
Right.
experienced myself. But going back to you do have a lot of time, I know, these days. And I'm not saying you should just sit around unless you wanted to.
And feel bad.
If you really wanted to just sit around and it didn't make you feel bad. I mean, I guess it's also the reasons why it's making you feel bad. Do you feel bad because you feel as though you should be doing something? Do you feel bad because when you sit around, you have time to think about what's going on in your life?
I think it's more the second thing. The thing is like, I don't avoid those feelings, but I also don't, just lay in them and just let them overtake me. I also feel like, all right, I'm feeling this feeling. I like to look at those feelings and think about them and what this is and what is motivating that feeling. What happened today? What is this? What is that? And then I'll think, all right, well, I need to shake this off because I don't want to feel like this. Like I don't want to keep feeling horrible or bad or whatever. And so what should I do? I should like put my energy into something.
Which is fair, of course.
Yeah. So I don't feel like I'm not grasping, I'm not avoiding, but I also am not just like reveling in my own like pitiful feelings.
Yeah. And I wouldn't say that that's a positive thing. And surely if you're not feeling great about sitting around, distracting yourself and doing things is a good thing to do. I'm just wondering, if you're, again, grasping may be too harsh of a word because it doesn't feel like that. If you're just trying things out, or maybe just let me ask you straight up, is there something specific in mind that you would like to do and you're avoiding that and you're just doing other things in the periphery?
It's more of like, I keep having this one thought, and this feels like therapy now, but
Psychobabble. The show devolved. I tuned out.
What I keep thinking about that makes me really sad and scared is that I'll never find anyone this sounds so conceited, but I'll never find anybody that appreciates me for all the weird little things about me or the good things about me or you know what I mean? And maybe I have found those people, but I've fucked it up. And I'm wasting like these really great years. You know what I mean? Like I get into and then I'll try and say to myself, like, it's okay. Like that will happen. You'll get there,
but
this and that. And then I feel even worse because I'm like, you're so alone that there's no one even there to comfort you. Do you know what I mean? And then I just spiral.
You're approaching this the wrong way, though. How are you? The person you're thinking of to appreciate you in these ways is strictly a romantic partner. But there's already people in your life who appreciate you for being that.
But I get so self-conscious that they don't really like me. Like I get into I'm upset now because it is something that I keep thinking about. That even though my friends are my friends, and they don't give me anything but like positive results, like feedback or whatever. But I still like, if I don't hear from them, then I go down these things like, oh, they don't really want to be your friend. Like they feel bad for you, and they just like you're like pathetic. So
you're making it about yourself in those instances. They have lives and they have their own things that they're dealing with, and they're probably not even thinking about you. And that's not to. But
that's what I'm saying. Like I get that way when I'm alone for too long and because I work from home. I'm just sitting in this closet, and I don't have, I don't have somebody around me to like interact with. And I am a people person, and I do need connection. And like something that was said, that my therapist said to me, that I wrote down, I said, people have so much power over me because I need them so much, and it was really true. People, even though it's not their power that they're wielding, but I give them all this power because I feel like I need them so much. And like somebody texted the group the other day and was like, hey, hey, does anybody want to hang out? And I couldn't, and other people couldn't. And then I put like a sad, like little emoji for this person who texted. I was like, so poor whoever. And they were like, it's all right. I love being with myself. And I thought, wow, how do I get there?
But it's interesting that we are both in opposite spots right now, where I have spent most of my life, adult life, alone. Not alone, like I have people in my life, but I've spent a lot of time alone. I've lived alone. I've done things, going to movies, for example, going out, getting a drink. I like doing a lot of things alone, and I was able to have a good time with myself. If I go to a museum, sometimes I prefer that to be alone. And now I'm in a spot where I have a person around all the time, which can be challenging just to that way of life that I was used to. And the reason I set that up is because it also served my, bad habits. And I feel as you always having someone around served your bad habits. It's also good too. Right. It's a nuanced thing. But now you're in a spot where you have to learn to be comfortable doing things and being alone. And I think once you get used to that, then you can combine the two and find exactly what you actually want. Because, I agree. Because the truth is, being around someone all the time doesn't work for you. It doesn't. It forces you into this spot where you end up just becoming somewhat one-dimensional, kind of like the characters in $1 Million Baby. But you fill a role at that point. Like, okay.
Well, and we talked about the when we talked about the airport, our airport episode, and I talked about how I felt like, look at me, I'm someone who's traveling, and like, because even when I was alone, I still was picturing the only way to perceive myself was through someone else's perception. I just didn't live in my own skin almost. And so I think me doing these things and finding these outlets is, I have found myself not thinking that. So like when I went to the gym, it would pop into my head like, oh, remember how this would be previously? You would be here thinking like, people are seeing me as a person who's at the gym, and I'm a woman at the gym, and what do they see me as, and what do I look like to them, and what do they think about me? It wouldn't be like that thought out. Like I wasn't like actually thinking those things. It was just like a perception, like a overall, like a 3-dimensional thought about who I was when I was alone, instead of just being inside my own body, you know what I mean? And not thinking about like what I was from the outside. And so I think that's what I'm trying to get. That's what I'm trying to do more. So like when you say like you would go to a museum alone, I'm not there yet, because all I would think is like, I'm so alone at this museum. There's no one.
See, when you go alone
to share this with.
When you go alone to a museum, I can take this in exactly the way I want to. I can experience it exactly the way I want to, and there's no one else here to influence that. I don't have to worry about if the other person's not enjoying it, or that takes me out of things.
Well, the person not enjoying it is different than like, I feel like I won't get as much out of this museum if I just go alone.
But I think it's important to figure out how to get something out of it alone. Whereas, when you're talking about...
Right, maybe that is a goal,
When you're talking about me, it would be important to get something out of it with someone else around, and then be curious and interested to hear what they got out of it and compare notes. That's the joy of having someone else around.
Yeah.
But
to me, it was like my experience was a team effort. I need somebody else there to to have the experience at all. I need to have somebody else there with me. Otherwise, what's the point? I'm just by myself.
What's wrong with that?
Exactly. But I'm not there.
And
I want to get there. So that's my motivation, is to get there.
And the reason I think we even got down this path, and I challenged you a bit, was because the motivation still seemed to be driven by other people. Not wholly. Like you wanting to get in shape and lose weight is you also, but somewhere I feel as though it's the idea when you're having these concerns that, people aren't going to like you. And if you're looking for someone to date, you're like, all right, well, if I'm fat,
I mean, if you're selling your house, you got to clean up.
I get it. I understand. That.
I mean, it's both. Like I said, it's a pie chart. Part of that is some of that is part of the motivation, but it doesn't have to be the only. Like, I'm not doing it only because of that. I'm doing it, and then part of the puzzle or part of the pie is also that, like, hey, do you feel like buying new clothes? No? All right. Well, then you got to get back in your clothes. So I got to do that. Oh, do you want to not feel good after running up a thing of stairs? No? All right. Well, then get your heart pumping because shut up. Get your life together. Do you want? Yeah, it's just like these little things that I notice. Like if I run to the car, it just feels like nothing instead of like my legs, or just teensy little things. Once you start moving around, you really do feel the difference in your body, and I enjoy that. I want to get strong. I would like my arms to look cool and like strong.
Just don't get abs.
Please.
Abs are weird overall.
Abs are made in the kitchen, not in the gym.
I think my motivation, figuring out who I am, and it is hard to just, figure that out. And it's still a process. I don't fully know, but you start living in a way that is better representative of that. And at some point I got the motivation to do that. And it was a long process. The motivation came after, multiple failed relationships. And again, this was tied to romantic relationships, but it was bigger than that. It was just, those were the barometers, how I was gauging what the hell was going on in my life. It was the easiest way because, work for me has always been something I can navigate pretty easily. So problems wouldn't arise in work and the way I was living my life, not fully expressing things I wanted or needed or whatever. Then work, I was able to navigate that. So while I was born out of relationships, it didn't, once I got rolling, it wasn't because, I need to find a relationship that works. It was just like, all these failed relationships, obviously shit's going wrong. And then I started putting in the work. And it is funny that for someone who likes to be alone, that I constantly went from relationship to relationship.
Yeah, it is weird.
It's because I wanted the other side of it. I wanted the stuff. I didn't want to do all these things alone. Like you said, having a person with you to experience things is something that I wanted. I just wasn't there. And once I let go of the act, which wasn't, I wasn't not being myself, but I just wasn't fully exposing myself, I guess is the best way to put it. Things fell in place, I guess, strangely quickly.
That's how it's supposed to work, I think. But like when people stop trying so hard to be or do something, then it just happens.
But you being worried, I think, focusing and figuring that out on your own will then open the door. And then, it's strange thinking about myself and dating Christina now. It is a thing. It's like, maybe that never would have come up. But, it wasn't. It was pretty quick after you and I broke up. But the reason was, and the reason that I'm now living with a person, it's like, oh, wow, this does match. And I feel like there's an understanding of who we are as we actually are and not who we are pretending to be. And I was like, oh, well, there it is. When, there were difficulties because there was still fallout from the end of our relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what I'm saying is if you figure this out, you will find that something will come together.
No, I know. It's like I said, it's those lonely moments that, the devil or whatever, the anxiety or whatever in my brain is like, oh, you're feeling kind of bad. Let's make you feel worse. let's send all these scary things your way, and then when you try to make yourself feel better, here you go, feel even worse. So it's like I said, it's just this dark spot. And maybe that is a sign that I need to get up and like do something, because it's nothing that I can't really do anything about it right now. It doesn't mean I should brush away the feeling. It is something I've been paying attention to, but I also feel like I need to find out. I need to find out who I am by myself and what I enjoy and who I am. And,
and that requires some exploring.
Yeah.
And jumping around to things like chopping your own garlic.
Yeah.
Look, if that's...
I have a sourdough. I have a sourdough starter that I've been feeding and taking care of. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, that's something that you've been doing before the pandemic. I'd like to put that out there. You weren't one of these, the pandemic's, I'm going to start doing sourdough like every other person.
Oh my God. Speaking of trends, I swear to you,
Going
6 weeks ago,
last week's episode.
Since from the last episode, I had never heard of pickleball in my life. And ever since we talked about it, it's everywhere. It's all over, like the Real Housewives. The people recapping it are talking about it. Eric and Jared have been talking about it. People like it's everywhere all of a sudden. I know that there's a word for that, but it's so crazy. And like somebody said, if someone invites you to join their pickleball game, then you're definitely going to be asked to join their MLM, their multi-level marketing, whatever. I was like, oh no, am I one of those suburban moms doing a thing?
Now you've got
drinking LaCroix and playing pickleball and complaining about our kids.
Well, if you're doing it, but you actually do enjoy it, who cares? I think that's the big thing in figuring out who you are. There are some things that maybe on the surface, like, oh, that's not who I am, but it is actually who you are, and you just have to give in.
I've had that. I've had moments where I'm like, I've had these like pathetic, sad, weird little moments or like mistakes I've made or like things I'm saying out loud that I never thought that I would say or think. And I'll say like, that's not me. And I think, wait, it must be me. Like, this must be it. I must be this person.
Yeah, you're not as cool. I
must be this person who makes mistakes.
You're not as cool as you want to be. That movie.
No, I'm not.
People say I'm self-centered. You're constantly in your own little movie. And
I was.
I think most of us are. That's the way we approach things. Everyone's a star of their own movie. And because of that, that's why things like, oh, people haven't reached out to me. They must hate me. It's like, nah, they're in their own movie. And their own movie is presenting them with problems that they're trying to get through right now. But you're not as cool as you think you are. And that's a blanket statement for everyone.
I mean, what you mean by cool is I'm not as laid back or like carefree as I think I am.
Well, you're a suburban mom.
I wanted to be.
You're a suburban mom, and you've made the choice that that's what you like, that you like where you live seemingly right now. I think there were reasons that you didn't like it before because you were kind of isolated and not interacting with enough people. But now that you've met people, it seems like you like Crofton, Maryland. And I know I just said it with a inflection of disdain, but that's not.
I mean, I am a suburban mom, but I'm not like.
You like it. You like it. And you made the choice, and you're looking
I'm not
for a
like
house.
The other moms. I'm a cool mom.
Okay, you're cooler than the other moms, but maybe you're not the coolest. But the point is, that's okay. Just
that's fine. That's fine.
Realizing these things.
You're conflating the two things. I'm not saying that like. I'm so cool. I am not so cool. I'll sit and do a puzzle and crochet in the wintertime. Like, that's not cool.
Those things have become cool. So things that weren't cool have become cool. So what I'm saying is
what I'm saying is that the way that I have always thought of myself is someone who's like, no big deal. Like, rolls off my back. No problem. I can handle anything and everything. And I cannot. And I will not. But what comes with that is a little bit of shame afterwards of like, oh, I'm not supposed to be like that. And I have to remind myself like, no, it's okay. Lots of people are like that.
It's all fucking messy. None of it's smooth sailing. Once you become comfortable with that, I think that's the first, that's you pulling out onto the road. It's like, okay, and then you can explore the rest. after you accept that. Just don't fall into any of these motivational speakers because those people pray.
Oh my God.
Those people
I'm
pray.
still an intelligent person. I'm not like an idiot now.
Hey, they just throw out statement, believe in yourself, love yourself. It's like, okay, there's...
If you don't stand for anything, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything.
Oh yeah, all the motivational posters. I still see people posting motivational quotes on Instagram. It's like, I guess if it helps someone, but...
Especially when they're all pixelated because they've been copied a billion times.
Oh yeah, but they're all the $1 million baby of motivation because they're one-dimensional. It's like all of this stuff... It's funny. See how I'm tying in the movie to make it
again, general audience that you can't trust the general population to be smart.
It's a very difficult, up and down, messy thing. Achieving whatever it is. I don't even want to say happiness. Just achieving a state of being that you're mostly fulfilled with. Yeah. It's not a fucking poster. And the fact
previously
that
was not like that.
I did buy a book once, and it wasn't a straight up motivational book, but it was called, I think it's called My Own Worst Enemy. And I read the first chapter, and there were things in it that hit upon the way I was living my life and the things I was avoiding out of fear of failure. But I was like, this is absolute bullshit, and I'll get nothing out of this. And I never read another word because it's just too top level and generic. And the thinking and self-evaluation that needs to go into it, it's not that simple. And those things are meant, I think, motivational speech, just to trap people in the cycle so they keep coming back. There's things that motivate me. It's funny. I'll go, I don't know if we ever talked about it on the show, but I know I've said this before. Live theater, for some reason, really motivates me, especially something on Broadway that's got maybe it's a limited run, but it's an extended run. It's like these people have to do this fucking thing every single day of their lives. And there's so many people who have to do that job. And it's all live in the moment. I think about when I have bad days or I'm not feeling like doing things, I can bullshit my way through work. It's not that big of a deal. But going on stage and having to act, and maybe you can get lost in that, and that helps pull you out of it. But, I watch this.
Yeah, like grieving instead of just staying home, like you go to work because it's just like helps you through it.
Yeah, but I watch these things and, there's that aspect of it. There's, I guess, just the team effort that has to go into it. Everyone doing their jobs live in the moment. You can't really screw up. Sometimes I go see live music. Usually I don't, theater, I leave and I feel inspired and I say, I'm going to go home and I'm going to start being creative. And then I go to sleep and I wake up. It's gone. It's like it's a fleeting thing. But there's something in there that gets me going. And if I could get involved in something, I think, the motivation isn't hard. It presents itself. So if you find the right thing, it's there.
You should try and get a job on Broadway.
Oh, yeah. So simple. Especially
doing some production something.
It's still like you think all unions and stuff. So it's very hard to get in. You have to work your way up to them. I was going to say live music. When I go see big shows, I don't leave feeling inspired. But if I go see a smaller show, where even if it's just like a local, I don't do this as much anymore, but when I was younger, you go see like local music. Sometimes it really sucks. But there's other times it's like, oh, wow, these people are doing their thing. And I can appreciate that. And I would leave and I'm going to go home tonight and I'm going to write. And then I would go to sleep and then wake up like, yeah. But that's also part of who I am. It's like accepting that I'm not feeling so awful that I'm not doing something like writing. And maybe that's the problem in that it doesn't feel like it's a hole, I guess, in my life. Mm-hmm. Something I would like to do. I think if I started doing it, I could get into it and it could become a thing. But I am saying that part of who I am is sometimes I just want to fucking sit around. I'm tired of thinking too much. And that in itself is not a bad thing. It can veer into, I guess, unhealthy, negative territory, but just because I have those feelings doesn't mean I'm a bad person. A lot of people get lost in that. I should always need to be doing something and proving myself. To who? Other people?
Yeah, basically, right? Like somebody else has set some sort of metric as what is acceptable. And I guess if you go against that, then you feel guilty about it. And you feel like you have to get up. I don't feel like that. I feel like if I'm sitting around, sometimes I get bored and I'm like, this is fucking boring. But but other times I just like sit around. It's all right. I never feel guilty for that, really.
Stare at my new age stories. They're not soap operas anymore. They're reality TV shows.
Yeah. Rewatching Jersey Shore like an idiot.
All right. Well, that's what I have. I wish you luck. We have to wrap this up
Thank you.
because I have to go. We just had your therapy session. I have to go do my real therapy session.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, cool. Thank you. Please like and subscribe, rate and review. Support our sponsor, hopandpepper.com. You can get 15% off some really delicious, locally made in Chattanooga, Tennessee hot sauce.
They're going to be on Hot Ones, except it's Jimmy Kimmel, sadly. Boo.
Yeah. He said that the sauce was good.
Oh, that's nice. Did
It's
it
like,
already?
This is really good.
Did it already air?
Yeah. Every Thursday at 11. Go check out Hot Ones.
Jimmy Kimmel. It's got the lowest views of them all.
Maybe. I don't know. Anyway, One Topic 15. Get 15% off. Thank you so much. Not going to fuck up the ending this time. Bye.
Do people care about Jimmy Kimmel? Is he a draw? The Undertaker was a draw.
He what?
The Undertaker and Stone Cold. Those were draws on the Hot Ones.
I liked Keenan and Kel, too.
I didn't see that one.
Key and Peele. Keenan and Kel. What am I, in the 90s?
Yes. I liked my boy Gordon Ramsay.
Oh, yeah. That was a good one, too.